Hello everyone, it's Religious Fanboy here again, and today, welcome to Episode 2 of the Bible with Religious Fanboy. Today we are continuing our study of the book of Jonah by covering Jonah chapter 1 verses 6 through 10, which I will start reading now. So the captain came and said to him, "What do you mean, you sleeper? Arise, call out to your God. Perhaps the God will give a thought to us, that we may not perish." And they said to one another, "Come, let us cast lots, that we may know on whose account this evil has come upon us." So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, "Tell us on whose account the evil has come upon us. What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and what people are you?" And he said to them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, "What is this that you have done?" For the men knew that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. To give some context of where we are in the story, where we left off in episode 1, as Jonah had been called by God to go preach to the people of Nineveh, but because of Jonah's own hatred towards the people of Nineveh, he chose to attempt to flee from God and go to Tarshish. And in response to that, God allowed a great storm to take place that caused the waves to be choppy and put fear in the hearts of those on the boat. An important bit of context, especially in regards to the crew members' questioning of Jonah, especially in regards to the questions of what people is he, as well as where is he from. These questions would have been important because during this time period, most of the religions were land-based / ethnically based. Even Judaism had practiced this version of land-based religions due to ties to the promised land, and this was something that would deeply affect them going into the Babylonian and Assyrian exile. The other thing that I'm wanting to talk about before we get into our talking points is God's relationship to water, and why the crewmen hearing of this description of God would cause them as much fear as it did. During this time, oceans and running water were things that were attributed to and symbolic of in their culture, things pertaining to chaos, violence, and death. These superstitions were so strong that at this time in history, the only nation to have a navy was Greece, specifically Athens. And we'd also see that we'd also see this prevalent in the way in which Jewish people built their houses. All of their houses and buildings, their entryways, faced towards east, so that they would be looking away from the water as they entered and exited the house. Our first talking point for today is that God hears our cries for help. Our second talking point is that God's plan is revealed to us when we seek to know God's plan. And our third talking point is we do not need to be afraid when God calls us to do something scary, because God has created every aspect of this world and is in control regardless of our current circumstances. Our discussion questions for today are: what stood out to you from this passage of scripture and these talking points? How quick are you to turn to God in your time of need? And our third talking point is: what are some practical things we can do to help us seek out God's plan for us? And with that being said, I hope and pray that you took away from this episode and this passage of scripture whatever God intended for you to take away from it. And with that being said, may God be with you, and see you next time. Bye.